Hello, good day, students. Welcome to the last part of your chapter 3 Constitutional Design. And today we'll be discussing about the guiding values of the Indian Constitution. So, let us jump into our topic. Okay. So, now we'll be studying about the guiding values of the Indian Constitution. Okay. So now when we talk about the guiding values of the Indian Constitution, the guiding values of the Indian Constitution, what does it mean? It means that to understand the overall philosophy, okay? So it means to understand the overall philosophy. Now what do I mean by the understand the overall philosophy? Now to understand whose overall philosophy, okay? To understand the constitution's overall philosophy, okay, we need to understand the constitution's overall philosophy. So what do I mean by that? I mean by that is we have to understand what this constitution is all about, okay, what this constitution is all about. Now as a student of your political science, it is very much important for you to understand the overall philosophy of the constitution, what this constitution is all about. Now according to the author says there are two ways to understand the philosophy, or to understand the uh, overall constitution, what is it all about. Now the first way is by reading the views, okay, by reading the views of some leaders, okay, on our constitution. Now what our leaders had to say about the constitution, if we read their views, if we try to understand what they say about our constitution, or what is their opinion on our constitution, then maybe we can understand the overall philosophy of our constitution. Now that is the first way. What the author says, that is the first way. Now there is also the second way that the author says. The second way is to read the constitution by our own self, rather than what the other leaders, what the some leaders had to say about the constitution. It is better that we ourselves read the constitution and understand. By reading the constitution, we try to understand what this constitution is all about. So these are the two ways that the author has to say, that if we read the views, either we read the views of the some leaders of our constitution, or we own self read the constitution and we own self have an idea or an opinion of what our constitution is all about, what are the overall philosophy of the constitution. So first let us try to understand the overall philosophy of the constitution by reading the views of various leaders. Okay, we will first try to understand the first way, what the author says, that by reading the views of some of the leaders. Now, who are these leaders? These leaders were those who were responsible, responsible for the constitution, and through this let us try to understand the philosophy behind it. Okay, so first we will try to understand what our leaders have to say. So now let us take you back to the pages of this chapter where we have learned and studied about the constitutional design. Now let us look at the pages of your some of the pages of your constitution amendment part. The first leader that we have is Baldev Singh. Now Baldev Singh was born in Haryana 1901 to 1961. Then we have Kanaya Maniklal Munshi or Dr. K.M. Munshi. We have the chairman of the Constitution Board. We have Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We have Shama Prasad Mukherjee, who was born in West Bengal, and he was the Minister of the Industry and Supply in the interim government. He was the educationist and lawyer and active in Hindu Mahasabha and later the founder president of Bharatiya Janasangh. Then we have the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, who was a lawyer and the Congress leader, and later he was elected as the Congress president, which we have already studied. Next, we have a famous idol, Mrs. Sarojini Naidu, who was born in Andhra Pradesh. He was a poet, writer, and a political activist. And among the women leaders, she was a well-known person. And later he became the governor of Uttar Pradesh. Then we have Somnath Lahiri, who was born in West Bengal and a writer, an editor, and leader of the Communist Party of India. Now, if you look at some of the names, you will see that our constitution writers, although was headed by the Congress, but the Congress was a mixture of all the different parties, all the different parts of India, people representing different community, people representing different language, people representing different caste, creed, sex, etc. Okay, then we have the other persons also. Now, one thing that you will notice is that although we have some of the big names that I have just mentioned, we have uh, K.M. Munshi, we have uh, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, we have Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and so on. There were many such leaders who was responsible for making the constitution. Now, you must be thinking that there are so many leaders, names of the leader mentioned, but there is one such personality who was an active person in the Indians' attainment of independence, but his name is nowhere mentioned when it comes to constitution, and that is none other than our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. This particular name is nowhere mentioned when it comes to the Constituent Assembly, when it comes to the making of the Constitution, and etc. This name or this person, this leader, famous leader, is nowhere mentioned when it comes to the Indian Constitution. Okay? How it can be a person of such a stature was not in the Constituent Assembly, a person who was the backbone of our independence fight, was not there while making the constitution, was not a participant in making the constitution. How is it that a big name such as Mahatma Gandhi was missing when it comes to the making of the constitution? Well, my dear students, it is nowhere disagreement that although he was a very tall leader in the Indians' fight against independence, but he was not a member, he was not a member of the Constituent Assembly. Now, this is something you should be careful about. Although he was a, 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 a patron of the independence of India, his name is on the top of the list and he is considered to be the father of our nation. But still, there is something we should know, that Mahatma Gandhi was neither a member of the Constituent Assembly, and so his name is nowhere mentioned, or his name does not come when it comes to the making of the constitution. But there is one thing we should also understand, that a person like Mahatma Gandhi need not had to take part in making of the constitution directly, because his charisma, or we can say his philosophy, his philosophy influenced many of our constituent assembly leaders. There were many leaders of the constituent assembly that was influenced by the ideas, or uh, the philosophy what Mahatma Gandhi followed. So much was they influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy and Mahatma Gandhi's idea, that these leaders who was influenced by them, these leaders, they were they were almost incorporated the ideas, they almost incorporated incorporated the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi in the constitution. Okay, almost the principle of Mahatma Gandhi, the philosophy behind Mahatma Gandhi's thinking of free India, how our constitution should be, they followed and incorporated each and every ideas of Mahatma Gandhi in the constitution. Okay, now how did these leaders come to know about the ideas and philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi? How did these leaders came to know that how Mahatma Gandhi wanted our constitution to be? Okay, how did they want it? So in 1931, in 1931, in Mahatma Gandhi's book, the name of the book is Young India. Young India, Mahatma Gandhi wrote how he wanted the constitution to look like. Okay, in this year 1931, in this particular book written by Mahatma Gandhi, written by Mahatma Gandhi, in this book Young India, he mentioned that how he wanted the Indian constitution to be. And these leaders, they tried to incorporate every ideas what Mahatma Gandhi wanted, and tried to incorporate the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi in our constitution. Now, what were the philosophy of the constitution, or how Mahatma Gandhi wanted, how should our constitution look like? We will get an idea of it if we start at this part of your book, page number 48, where we will study about what Mahatma Gandhi had written about Indian constitution should be. Now I shall strive for a constitution which will release India from all the freedom and patronage. Okay, so what it is written, that I will strive for a constitution, okay, which will release India from all thraldom and patronage. Okay, now what do this line means, that I shall strive a constitution which will release India from all the thraldom and patronage? This means that Mahatma Gandhi wanted India to be free from any outside force. Now, if you look at the government that we had before, then there was a British government above, and then we had our government. Later, in the Congress annual meeting, they have adopted that they will strive for Purna Swaraj, or complete independence. Now, a government, although it was our own government, but that government was not completely a free government, because the British government was on the top. So Mahatma Gandhi said that the constitution will be such that it will release India from any kinds of burden. There should not be any burden that will stop India or the Indian constitution from incorporating what is written in our constitution. Next, he said that I will work for an India in which the poorest shall free, that it is their country. Okay, you see what it is written, that the poorest shall free feel that it is their country. Okay, the poorest shall feel that it is their country. Now, why did he say that? Because before independence, the poor persons, the Harijans, the lower caste of people was alienated from this society. They was not treated in a good manner. They was not treated as a human. So the poor felt, the lower class category people, they felt that this country is not their own country. Why? Because in their own country, their own people are treating them very badly. They are treating them as if they were totally untouchables. They are the lowest categories of people, almost equal to the animals. They were almost treated like an animals. So Mahatma Gandhi was against such untouchables. ये छूत अछूत का जो फंडा था, महात्मा गांधी उसके टोटली अगेंस्ट में था. और महात्मा गांधी उन लोगों को, उन लोअर कैटेगरी के पीपल, जो लोग समाज में बहुत लोएस्ट माना जाते थे, उन लोगों को हरिजन के नाम से पुकारते थे। मतलब जो हरि के नजदीक है, दोज पीपल दे वर क्लोजेस्ट टू द गॉड, इसलिए उन लोगों को हरिजन के नाम से बुलाते थे। ओके, सो महात्मा गांधी वांटेड a constitution in which those harijans, poors, shall not be treated badly. The country will be treating the poor like the same way that the rich is being treated. A country will treat a Shudra like the way it is treating a Brahmin. So there should be equality for all. Okay, next, he said, or he wrote in his book, that there shall be no high class and no low class of people, as I've mentioned. He wanted an India in which all communities shall live in perfect harmony. They will be living in this country as brothers in a perfect harmony. There can be no room in such an India for a curse of untouchability. I have told you earlier that Mahatma Gandhi was strictly against the funda of untouchability, and he was also against the intoxicating drinks, drugs, and such type of menace. He was also for the equal rights to men as well as women. We all know that during that time how the women were treated. The women were not allowed to come out of their houses. The women were not allowed to talk about politics, to participate about politics. They was considered that the women are only born to do the household works. But Mahatma Gandhi was against this difference between woman and man. He said that he wanted a country, a constitution that will give equal right to woman as well as man. And I shall be satisfied with nothing else. Okay, so he was against the curse of untouchables, the curse of intoxicating drinks. Okay, then he was for the man and woman having same rights. So these are some of the points that you should remember if you were asked that in the book Young India that Mahatma Gandhi written in 1931, what did he express his views on how the constitution of India should be. Okay, now the this dream that Mahatma Gandhi saw, okay, or the writings of Mahatma Gandhi, if you go through these writings of Mahatma Gandhi, I'm sure you will be very clear that he wanted our India to be free from untouchabilities, to be free from intoxicating drinks and drugs, to be free from the difference between men and women. He wanted all communities to be in a perfect harmony. Okay, so these were few things that you should know what he wanted. Okay, so what Mahatma Gandhi mainly emphasized upon was untouchabilities. And guess what? This untouchability was the biggest problem at that time. Okay, at the same time, if we read about the views of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, now who was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? He was a key person, okay, or the chairman of the drafting committee who played an important role in making of our constitution. Now, in spite of Mahatma Gandhi and Ambedkar, they had the same vision, they had the same ideas. In spite of both of them having the same vision and same idea, Ambedkar often criticized Gandhi. Okay, Ambedkar often criticized Gandhi. Now let us see what Ambedkar wanted, or what Ambedkar have uh, made a speech on 26th January. Okay, now let us try to understand what he said. So this speech is the concluding speech of the Constituent Assembly, and he started this speech with very anxiety and very clear. Now let us read what he had to say. On the 26th Jan 1950, we are going to enter a life of contradiction. Okay, a life of contradiction. Now, in politics, we will have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. Now, see, here is the difference. Here is the difference. In politics, we will have equality, but in social and economic life, we will have inequality. That means Ambedkar knew that although in our constitution we are giving equal rights to different communities, whether it be scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward classes of people, we are giving equality. But this equality will only be in politics, in the constitutional pages. But the fact is, in social and economic life, there is, there was, and there always be inequality. So that Dr. Ambedkar knew that this constitution is not enough to completely remove inequality, because there will be inequality in social and economic life. We cannot stop this inequality from the social and economic life of the backward classes of the people. In politics, we will be recognized this the principle of one man, one vote, and one vote, one value. But in the social life, so he compared what was in politics and what was in real economic and social life. In politics, we have equality, but the fact is, in social and economic life, there was no equality as such. There was completely inequality. In politics, we are recognizing the principle of one man, one vote, and one value. But the fact in our social life, we shall, by reason of our social and economic structure, continue the deny the principle of one man, one value. Okay, this one man, one vote, one value will only be in the pages of constitution. It will remain into the pages of constitution, but the fact is that better to incorporate the ideas of our constitution into the lives of the people. Only then will our constitution be a meaningful constitution, rather than having these lines only in pages. It does not make sense. Okay, so Ambedkar knew that the principle of one man, one vote, and one value will only be in politics, but in the social and economic life, there is still no principle as such of one man and one value. And how long we shall continue to live this life of contradiction? How long shall we continue to deny equality? How long shall we continue to deny equality in a social and economic life? If we continue to deny it for a long, we will do so only by putting our political democracy in peril. Now, what is the meaning of peril? The meaning of peril is danger. Okay? Now, he said that if this goes on, if in economic and social life people still faces inequality, if in economic and social life people are still denied with the principle of one man one value, then if it goes for such long time, then we all, the constitution makers, will be putting their political democracy in danger. This was the contradiction, or the last criticism that B.R. Ambedkar had made against the constitution, or we can say against the principle of the vision of the ideas of the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, although their vision was same, both wanted equality, both wanted that the country should be everyone's country, but still Ambedkar left no stones apart when it comes to criticism against Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so now the on the next page we have the speech of the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, when he said, it is a very long speech, but he said, I will just read an extract, that at the stroke of midnight hour, when the whole world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. What he meant to say, that in the midnight hour when the world is sleeping, there will be a new country born. A new country will get life and freedom. Okay? A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when the age ends, and when the soul of the nation, long suppressed, find utterance. Now he also said that freedom and power brings responsibility. We all know that with responsibility, with power comes great responsibility. So he mentioned that. Okay, he mentioned that we are attaining freedom, no doubt about that, but this is not the end of it. Freedom is bringing within ourselves many more responsibilities. The responsibility which rests upon this assembly, the present assembly, constituent assembly, that was there at that time, a sovereign body representing the sovereignty of the people of India. Before the birth of freedom, we have to endure all the pains of the labor, and our hearts are heavy with the memories of this sorrow. We all know how painful, after a how painful fight we have attained our independence. Our country did not get independence with much ease. Many freedom fighters have to give away their life, have to give away their life in much pain and anxiety. And after a long, long struggle of years and years and months, finally we have attained our freedom. Nevertheless, he also said that the past is over and now it is time that we remember the past, and by remembering the past, we also look into the future that beckons to us now. Okay, so these were some of the uh, extracts or the speech that the first Prime Minister uh, of our country, Jawaharlal Nehru, made when we attained our freedom and constitution. Okay, now we will study about the philosophy of the constitution. Now, what is the constitution is all about? The philosophy of the constitution. Okay, now if you look at the constitution, we will see that we have a preamble. Now, what is a preamble? Okay, what is a preamble? A preamble is the heart. Okay, the preamble is nothing but the summary. We can say that it is the summary of the constitution. In short, a short summary of what the entire constitution is all about. ये उसका एक छोटा सा summary है. Okay, so we can say that preamble is nothing but an introductory statement of basic value of a constitution. Okay, it contains the philosophy on which our entire constitution is based upon. Okay, so it is just an introductory statement of basic value of the constitution. It contains the philosophy on which the entire constitution is based upon. That means it is nothing but a summary. Okay, it is nothing but a summary. Now, before we start understanding the preamble, we have to first understand few ideas of our constitution is all about. Now, if we look at here, if we look at the constitution, we see the first line, we the people of India. Okay, we the people of India. Now, here, what do we mean by we the people of India? There was only a few numbers of people, the constituent assembly leaders, where we had B.R. Ambedkar, K.M. Munshi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and others. Was the constituent assembly consist of all the populations of our country? No, certainly not. Okay, we have studied that before the partition, the Constituent Assembly has 389 members, but after the partition of India and Pakistan, there was the division of the Constituent Assembly, and after the division, there was only 299 members. So the 299 people was the total population of India? No, it cannot be. Then why they have written that we the people of India? There was only 299 persons. These we the people of India, this thing, this principle came from the principle of uh, America, where their constitution also says we the people of United States. Okay, we the people of United States. Here it is. We have adopted this principle from the Constitution of United States. We have adopted this principle also from the uh, Constitution of South Africa, where they have also started we the people of South Africa. So our constitution was adopted, the ideas of our constitution was adopted not only from the constitution of uh, South Africa or USA. We have also adopted some part of our constitution from the French constitution. Okay, other constitutions also, Britain's constitution also. So there were many constitution that added values, or we have taken ideas from their constitution also. Okay, so the idea of the preamble was basically from the American model. Here the idea, the short statement. Okay, the constitution begins with a short statement of its basic values, and this is called the preamble to the constitution. And now the preamble to the constitution, the idea was inspired from the American model. Okay, like we have seen here, we the people of United States. Also we have seen here, we the people of South Africa. So we the people, this principle was taken from the Constitution of USA and the Constitution of South Africa. Now let us look at the uh, Constitution first, and then I will explain the Constitution in a much elaborate manner. Okay, so first let us read the Constitution and try to understand. Next we'll try to understand some important keywords that is written on the preamble. Now the preamble starts with we the people of India, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure all its citizens with justice, that is social, economic, and political, with liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Okay, these were the lines that were written in the preamble. Okay, now let us try to understand these words, that the key words that we have marked in different color: sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. Let us try to understand one by one what these words mean. Okay, so first we have the preamble. Okay, now the preamble, if we look into the preamble, the first line that I have mentioned was we the people of India. We the people of India. Now, what does this mean? That why they have chosen to write this we the people of India was that as constitution is made by the people. Constitution is made by the people. Now, how could it be that the constitution is made by the people where we know that the constitution is made by the 299 members of the Constituent Assembly? It was because that the 299 members of the assembly, Constituent Assembly, was from north, was from east, was from west, was from south, was from northeast, southwest, different direction, different culture, different mentality, different ideas, different socialism, different language, different religion. Okay, so there was a mixture of all different types of persons, mentalities, thinkings, ideas that could have been found. Okay, and rather the 299 members were the members that was indirectly chosen by the people, because the people chooses the provincial assembly, and from the provincial assembly finally the leaders of the constituent assembly was selected. So we can say that indirectly the people have selected or represented the constituent assembly members. ओके, अब ये जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि ये कोई कोई गॉड ने, कोई भगवान ने अचानक से स्काई से ऐसा ऐसा स्काई से एक किताब टपक के नीचे गिरा दिया और वही इंडिया का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बन गया। ये तो कोई भगवान या फिर कोई सम सुप्रीम पावर और समथिंग लाइक दैट दे हैव नॉट गिफ्टेड अस, बट इट इज द पीपल who have gifted themselves with the constitution. We have not got this constitution a gift from France, a gift from Britain, a gift from some other persons, or a gift from the heavenly God. No, this constitution is actually made. And who made it? The people of India made it by rigorous talking, discussion, debate, etc., etc., amendments. So the constitution is made by the people of India. So we say that we the people of India. Start with we the people of India. Next, if you remember, there was a word mentioned. It is sovereign. Okay, we have sovereign. Now, what the sovereign means कि अपना डिसीजन खुद लेना. महात्मा गांधी ने क्या आइडिया दिया था कि he wanted a India to be free from any other influence. इंडिया अपना डिसीजन जो भी लेना होगा खुद लेगा. इंडिया को क्या लॉ बनाना चाहिए ये ब्रिटेन से नहीं पूछेगा. इंडिया को क्या खाना चाहिए, क्या पीना चाहिए, क्या टैक्स होना चाहिए, क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, ये फ्रांस, पाकिस्तान, चाइना इन लोग से नहीं पूछेगा. इंडिया is a country that takes its own decision. So that is mean by sovereign. That means sovereign means it can make, it can make its own decision. Okay, or laws, नियम, अपना कानून, अपना डिसीजन खुद लेगा, किसी से पूछने का जरूरत नहीं है. नेक्स्ट दैट इज रिटन वाज socialist. Okay, next it was written was socialist. Now, what does socialism means? Socialism means that wealth is distributed wealth is distributed among the society. Okay, wealth is distributed among the society. इसका मतलब इक्वल इक्वलिटी, अ सेंस ऑफ इक्वलिटी. ऐसा नहीं कि गरीब एकदम गरीब होते होते मिट्टी के नीचे चला गया और अमीर अमीर होते होते आसमान के ऊपर चला गया. ऐसा नहीं. देयर शुड बी अ इक्वलिटी अमंग ऑल. ओके, इसीलिए एक तरीके से जिसका अभी जो टैक्सेशन सिस्टम है, जिनका इनकम ज्यादा है, उनसे गवर्नमेंट टैक्स भी ज्यादा लेता है. जिसका इनकम कम है, उनसे गवर्नमेंट टैक्स भी कम लेता है. ओके, ऐसा नहीं है कि रिलायंस का जो कंपनी का मालिक है मिस्टर अंबानी उनसे 100 रुपया टैक्स लेता है. ओके, उसमें 100 रुपया टैक्स लेता है. और जो छोटा सा दुकान का छोटा सा एक शॉपकीपर है, उनसे 1 करोड़ रुपया टैक्स लेता है. ऐसा नहीं है. ओके, जिनका इनकम ज्यादा है उनसे टैक्स ज्यादा होता है, लेता है. जिनका इनकम कम है उनका टैक्स भी कम है. और जिनका कोई इनकम ही नहीं है उनका तो टैक्स देने का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता. ओके, सो वी हैव स्टडीड अबाउट वी द पीपल, sovereign and socialist. Okay, so now let us start with the other part, that is secular. Okay, that is secular. Now, what does secular means? Secularism means that in India, it doesn't matter whether you are a Hindu, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Sikh, whether you are a Jain, whether you are a Parsi, okay, whether you follow Jesus Christ, whether you pray to Bhagwan, whether you go to a mosque. But in India there is a secularism. We are secular country. That means we respect and allow any person or citizen to practice and follow all religions. Okay, that means if a person is Hindu, he can follow uh, his Hindu gods, he can pray to his Hindu gods. If a person is Muslim, he can pray to his Muslim god. If a person is a Sikh, he can go to a Gurudwara and pray to his um, Sikh gods. Okay, that means there is a sense of respect and we allow all religions to be practiced in our country. Okay, next we have after secularism we have liberty. Okay, we have liberty. Now, what does liberty says? Liberty says that it is nothing but azadi. Okay, azadi. That means actually there is no unreasonable restriction. Unreasonable restriction. ओके, ऐसा नहीं कि कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन जिनके कोई रीजन ना हो. जैसे कोई सडनली कोई ऐसा रेस्ट्रिक्शन आ जाए कि कल से गर्ल्स कैनॉट वेयर पैंट्स और जीन्स, ओके, दे हैव टू वेयर स्कर्ट्स और फ्रॉक्स, these things. So ऐसा कोई अनरीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है, या फिर वन कैनॉट स्पीक तमिल और वन कैनॉट स्पीक बंगाली, दे हैव टू स्पीक हिंदी ओनली, ओके, वन कैनॉट गो टू अ पार्क, ओके, ऐसा कुछ भी अनरियलिस्टिक अनरीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शंस नहीं है, दैट मीन्स फ्रीडम है, लिबर्टी है, okay, you have the freedom, you have the liberty. After that liberty comes democratic. Now democratic, this word, by now we all have known what does democratic means, okay, that means it has the right to people, right to people to choose the government, okay, to choose the government, okay, that means we can say that India is a people centric country, people centric, okay, जन गणतंत्र, ओके, मतलब जहां पे जनता जनार्दन होता है, ओके, आफ्टर दैट, आफ्टर डेमोक्रेसी वी हैव रिपब्लिक, okay, after democracy we have republic, we have republic, रिपब्लिक का मतलब द हेड ऑफ द स्टेट शुड बी अ इलेक्टेड लीडर, ओके, रिपब्लिक का मतलब हेड ऑफ द स्टेट्स शुड बी इलेक्टेड। अब हेड ऑफ द स्टेट्स, इंडिया में हेड ऑफ द स्टेट्स कौन है? मैक्सिमम ऑफ देम विल से द हेड ऑफ द स्टेट्स ऑफ इंडिया is a prime minister, but this is totally wrong. Prime minister is not the head of our states, okay, remember students, the president is the head of the state. Now the president is elected, mind you, the president is also elected. I know that we does not elect the presidents directly, okay, directly we don't vote for the president, but there is a indirect election of the president. So whether it be direct or indirect, elections are elections, okay. Now the president is the head of the state. Now what is the prime minister? Now the prime minister is the head of the government, okay. Don't make a mistake. When somebody asks that who is the head of the state, don't say it is the prime minister, but it is the president. The president is the head of the states and the prime minister is the head of the government, okay, fine. After republic we have, next we have, next we have justice, okay, next we have justice, okay, next we have justice. Now here justice means that irrespective of person, irrespective of a person being rich or poor, justice should be delivered without any discrimination. Justice should be delivered without discrimination. Discrimination. Now ये कहाँ तक reality है? I will not comment on that. But what in a constitution it actually is that whether it is a rich or a poor, कोई भी गलती करेगा तो उसको सजा मिलना ही मिलना है, चाहे वो एक गरीब का बेटा हो या फिर एक करोड़पति का बेटा हो. Justice should be equal for all. Okay, and the last that we have after justice is fraternity. Okay, the last that we have after justice is fraternity. Now fraternity is nothing but it is a sense of brotherhood. Okay, it is a sense of brotherhood. मतलब भाईचारा, कोई भी सिटीजन एक दूसरे को भाईचारे के नजर से देखेगा. Okay, now these are some of the words that are written in our constitution. Okay, first we have we the people. Okay, we have we the people, we have sovereignty, we have socialist. Okay, we have secularism, we have liberty. Okay, we have democratic, we have republic, we have justice, we have fraternity, and I have explained what does these means in simple words. So is nothing but this is nothing but these are the core structure of our preamble. Okay, these are the core structures of a preamble. In your examination there may come question that what does uh, what is the meaning of liberty is all about, or what do you mean by secularism that is mentioned in our preamble, so that you have to explain in your own words. Fine students, so that is what sovereignty, socialist, secularism, democratic, republic, justice, equality, fraternity is all about. Okay, so now the last part we will study about the institutional design. So the thing you should remember is a constitution is mainly about embodying the values into institutional arrangement. Okay, you see it is written that the constitution is all about embodying the values into the institutional arrangement. Now for example, when you say about justice, now justice should be delivered, but how? If there was no courts, then who would be the one that would provide us with justice? So just having the idea that justice should be given without any institution to provide justice is meaningless. Okay, so that is what it is written. A constitution is mainly about embodying the values into institutional arrangements, and so do we have a court. Okay, and also one thing that is very much important, that the writings of the constitution, if required, there should be a scope of changing or modifying if required, and that modification is known as amended. Okay, so a constitution there needs to be amended quite regularly to keep it updated. और ऐसा ही कुछ हुआ कुछ दिन पहले जब तुम लोगों का एजुकेशन सिस्टम को अमेंड किया गया, मॉडिफाई किया गया, ताकि हम अभी जो नया सिस्टम ऑफ एजुकेशन है उनके साथ हम लोग ताल पे ताल मिला के चल सके. Okay, now we have computers everywhere, we have softwares everywhere, we have apps everywhere. So we need to change our education system so that we can compete with the other countries. So there should be a modification, a scope of modification. Similarly, in the amendment also, the laws that were written some 50, 60 years ago, if required, depending on the present scenario, there should be a scope or a chance to modify that law according to the need of the present day. Okay, so they made provisions to incorporate changes from time to time, and these provisions is nothing but they are called constitutional amendments. Okay, so the constitution describe the institutional arrangement in a very legal language. Now if we try to read this constitution for the first time, it will be quite difficult. Why? Because the constitution is written in a legal language. Okay, yet the basic institutional design is not very difficult to understand. The Indian constitution lays down a procedure for choosing a person to govern the country. It defines who will have how much powers or to take decisions. Now in our constitution, the powers of a prime minister, how the prime minister is elected, till how many time a person will remain as a prime minister, who will take the position of the prime minister once a prime minister retires from his office. What is the work of a president? What are the powers of a president? What are the discretionary powers of a president? How the states will run, how the center will run, each and everything is written in our constitution. Okay, the powers, the election procedure, the removal procedure if required, each and everything is written in our constitution. And it is also putting limits to what the government can do by providing some rights to the citizen that cannot be violated. And these rights, now mind you, these rights that cannot be violated are the fundamental rights. कोई भी आ जाए सरकार में, मोदी हो या मोदी के कोई भी हो, जो हम लोग का बेसिक राइट है एक सिटीजन का, वो कोई भी सरकार, चाहे बीजेपी सरकार हो, चाहे कांग्रेस सरकार हो, चाहे कोई भी पार्टी का सरकार हो, ना हमसे कोई छीन पाया है और ना आगे हमसे कोई छीन पाएगा. Now these basic rights of a citizen that we got thanks to our constitution, no government or no prime minister has the power to take that right from us, that the constitution has given us. One of them is the fundamental right of a citizen. The fundamental rights are our basic needs, our basic right that the constitution has given us, और किसी की भी हिम्मत नहीं है वो हमसे कोई छीन सके. ना कोई भी प्रधानमंत्री बन जाए, कोई भी राष्ट्रपति बन जाए, किसी भी पार्टी का सरकार आ जाए, कोई हमसे अपना हक, अपना फंडामेंटल राइट छीन नहीं सकता. Okay, so these are what this chapter is about, and the other remaining chapters are nothing but how the constitution works. Okay, and what are the provisions of the constitution, that will be studying in our next chapter. So with this we come to the end of this chapter number 3, constitution design. Thank you very much, students.